This story is going to be very exciting because, in this movie, we will see how three married women enjoy spending time with younger men. So, let's begin the story. At the start of the movie, we are introduced to three young women named Sonia, Cecil, and Alice. They were very close friends and loved spending time together. They were on their way to sell Cecil's old house when suddenly, a car behind them started honking repeatedly. This made Sonia angry, and to tease the driver, she performed an inappropriate gesture. Unfortunately, they later found out that the person they had offended was actually a police officer. As a result, the police confiscated their car, forcing them to take a taxi to Cecil's house. That night, all three of them were extremely exhausted and fell asleep immediately. The next morning, they discuss the delay of the house buyer and decide to go for a little outing while waiting for him. They plan to visit a nearby beach. Upon reaching the beach, they have a great time and engage in boating. Meanwhile, two young men, Papu and Paul, notice them. As soon as they see Sonia and Alice, they start thinking of ways to impress them. Papu, in an attempt to grab their attention, pushes a young boy into the water and then jumps in to rescue him, trying to showcase his bravery and physical fitness. His trick somewhat works as Sonia and Alice momentarily take interest in him, but soon they lose interest and walk away. After that, the three friends lie down on the beach to soak up the sun. Just then, a neighbor of Cecil arrives. She lived near the old house. Cecil and her neighbor start talking. Meanwhile, Sonia and Alice get attracted to a charming young man on the beach. The young man was named Thomas, and he was living on rent near Cecil's house. Sonia and Alice strike up a conversation with him and soon establish a friendly bond. Thomas tells them about a party happening that night, where all the young people would be gathering. Excited, both women immediately agree to attend, but Cecil decides to stay home. At night, Sonia and Alice get dressed up and leave for the party. However, when they arrive at the venue, a strict female bouncer at the entrance refuses to let them in because they don't have an entry pass. At that moment, a man tries to force his way inside, but the tough bouncer Blue Don beats him up badly. Witnessing this, Sonia and Alice get nervous. Just then, Papu and Paul arrive at the scene and notice that Sonia and Alice look worried. They ask them what's wrong. Sonia and Alice explain that they don't have an entry pass, so they can't get inside. Hearing this, Paul approaches Blue Dawn because she was his girlfriend. Blue Dawn agrees to let Sonia and Alice enter without an entry pass. Friends, if you watch this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. After entering the party, all four of them enjoy themselves thoroughly, indulging in drinks without crossing any limits. When the party ends, Alice and Sonia, being tipsy, head back home. Upon reaching home, they find Cecil asleep deeply on the floor. Quietly, they go to their rooms without disturbing her. The next morning, the three of them head to the beach again, where they have a wonderful time. Although they were older in age, their energy and style still radiated youth. Meanwhile, Papu and Paul stand from a distance, watching them, waiting for later when they could ease their restlessness in private. Just then, Thomas arrives and starts playing volleyball with them. A little while later, Thomas goes to their house to spend time with them. While they are all talking, Papu, Paul, and Mark suddenly show up under the pretext of a party, but in reality, they just want to spend time with them. Seeing Marks, Cecil becomes happy because he used to take care of her children when she lived there. On the other hand, Thomas quickly figures out Papu and Paul's intentions and bluntly tells them that they are just here for fun. He adds that when he was their age, he also thought about having relationships with older women. Everyone finds Thomas's statement somewhat odd, which causes Alice to tell him to leave. Afterward, everyone gathers inside the house, chatting and relaxing. However, Cecil doesn't like the idea of spending time with younger men, so she leaves the gathering and goes inside to talk to her daughter. Meanwhile, Alice and Sonia continue to spend time with Papu and Paul. Paul begins to dance with Alice, and their closeness grows. Watching this, Sonia becomes emotional and attempts to get closer to Papu as well. Just then, Sonia receives a voice message from her boyfriend, where he is insulting her harshly. Hearing this, Sonia begins to cry. Seeing Sonia cry, everyone becomes concerned, and to cheer her up, they decide to go out for ice cream. However, it is already late at night, and all the shops are closed. Using her quick thinking, Cecil opens a shop's lock and takes ice cream from inside. The group gets into their car and drives around, but due to limited space, Alice ends up sitting in Paul's lap. This proximity makes Paul restless, and he finds it hard to control himself, so he asks Marks to stop the car and suggests everyone walk instead. The three of them get out of the car and begin walking home. Meanwhile, the three young women go to a pool to swim, where they carefree enjoy playing in the water. After swimming, when they try to open their car, they realize that it has been locked from the inside. At that moment, Alice remembers that she had left the sunroof open, so the three of them decide to climb in through the sunroof, wear whatever clothes they can find, and spend the night in the car. The next morning, Thomas passes by while jogging and stops when he sees them in the car. He offers to help and brings them clothes. At the same time, he apologizes for his inappropriate comments from the previous day. When Alice gets home, she receives a message from her boyfriend, asking her to send him a particular photo. While Alice is busy trying to take her picture, Sonia arrives and offers to help her. In the meantime, Cecil arrives searching for her bracelet, which she cannot find anywhere. The three of them try to help her search for it, but the bracelet is nowhere to be found. This frustrates Cecil because she believes that it was because of Sonia and Alice that she had gone out with those boys last night. During this, Faisal reminds them that they came here to sell their house, not to get tangled in unnecessary issues. She further comments that they seem to enjoy spending time with younger boys. These words spark an argument between the three of them, and they stop talking to each other. Everyone becomes busy packing their belongings, but after a while, Cecil apologizes for her harsh behavior, which leads to a reconciliation. That night, while everyone is fast asleep, Alice sneaks out to meet someone, and their closeness intensifies. The next day, all the women go to the same restaurant where they had stolen ice cream the previous night. The owner of the place tells them that there is no ice cream available today because a thief stole it the night before. He adds that he will catch the thief soon since he has their bracelet. Hearing this, everyone becomes nervous and falls silent. They quickly leave the restaurant and head toward the beach. There, Paul's girlfriend, Blue Dawn, arrives in anger. She challenges Sonia to a horseback riding competition because Sonia had already attracted her boyfriend's attention. Sonia accepts the challenge, and an exciting race begins. Since Sonia was older and more experienced than Blue Dawn, she easily wins the race. Everyone returns home happily, and they celebrate the victory with another gathering. During this time, Sonia announces that she will be flying to Spain the next day to meet her boyfriend. Upon hearing this, Papu becomes sad because he feels disappointed about Sonia leaving. Later, Cecil and Sonia pack up their things and head home. However, Alice stays at Mark's house. Alice needed to relieve herself, and Paul, excited, helps her with it. Meanwhile, Papu secretly goes to meet Sonia. When Papu finds Sonia, she is crying badly because her boyfriend had refused to meet her in Spain. Papu consoles her and gradually becomes more intimate with Sonia. Meanwhile, Cecil is sitting alone at home, smoking a joint. She is deeply affected by it when she receives a call from her daughter, informing her that Donnie has been expelled from school for not doing his homework. Cecil, however, is too intoxicated to focus on her daughter's words. The next morning, the three boys, while playing a game, talk about how they each spent their night with Sonia and Alice. They discuss the ways they had been intimate with them, but Mark stays silent. This is because Mark's motherly figure was Cecil, so he had refrained from getting involved with her. Now, the three women also head to the beach. Paul and Papu take their girlfriends to the water for a swim. Meanwhile, Cecil sits alone on the beach, enjoying the sun. At that moment, Marks approaches her and invites her to join him for some fun, but Cecil refuses, saying that though he may resemble her son, she is not his mother. However, after hearing his compliments, Cecil starts to soften and begins to get closer to Marks. On the other hand, Alice is lying on the beach when her relatives arrive. So, Alice starts talking to them, but just then, Paul walks over and slaps Alice on the backside. At first, Alice's relatives think that Paul might be her son, but soon they realize that Alice is here with Paul to enjoy some fun. After this realization, they leave. A few days later, Alice's daughter comes to meet her because her summer break has started, and she wants to spend some time with Alice. When they all go out together, Alice asks Sonia if she really loves Papu because he has fallen in love with her. She warns Sonia that when Papu finds out that she is still talking to her boyfriend from Spain, he will be very hurt. Hearing this, Sonia pulls Papu aside and starts passionately being with him, trying to calm his feelings. After their closeness, Sonia thinks about telling Papu everything but is unable to do so. Meanwhile, Alice also asks Paul about their relationship, questioning whether he is serious about it or not. Paul turns his face away, as he was just passing time with Alice and wasn't serious about the relationship. Upon hearing this, Alice walks away and starts crying uncontrollably. Sonia approaches her and comforts her. Meanwhile, Cecil's house was about to be sold, and in celebration, the three women decided to throw one last grand party at their house. The three boys were also invited, and everyone got busy with preparations. As everyone was working on their respective tasks, Blue Dawn suddenly barges in and creates a scene. In her anger, she throws trash on Faisal's car because Sonia had taken her boyfriend, Papu, away from her. However, everyone ignores her actions. As the evening approaches, the party begins, and many guests arrive. The atmosphere is filled with joy and excitement. During the event, Alice notices that Paul is dancing with another girl, which makes her feel deeply upset. After a while, Papu approaches Sonia and tries to express his feelings for her. However, Sonia stops him and says that they need to end everything because as soon as she leaves, their relationship will also come to an end. Papu tries to convince her, but Sonia stands firm on her decision and makes up her mind that she will not continue with Papu anymore. Hearing this, Papu becomes sad and leaves. On the other hand, Alice's situation is different. She wanted to make her relationship with Paul stronger, but since Paul was just passing time, he rejects the idea of moving their relationship forward. Thus, the love story of Sonia and Alice comes to its end, while a new chapter begins for Cecil. Faisal was extremely happy with Marx, and now she had started to love him too. As a result, they both began to live each moment to the fullest. On the other hand, Papu, overwhelmed with sadness, was about to jump into the sea to end his life when suddenly Sonia arrived and stopped him. She told Papu that she had made her final decision about who she would be with. Sonia had broken up with her boyfriend from Spain and now wanted to take her relationship with Papu to the next level. The next morning, we see Cecil tearing down the wall that separated the garden and the house to make it easier to move between them. She also decides not to sell her house anymore, as she has chosen to stay peacefully with Marx. Thus, the film ends on a happy note. Friends, if you like the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video.